and the number. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's get the Central Berkshire School Committee meeting started. This open meeting is being on video recorded. Motions shown are examples. There may be omitted or amended. Is anybody else recording besides Dalton TV? Okay, all right, so let's start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Dr. Caprice. Here. Charlotte Crane.
Here.
Eberwein.
Here.
Todd Emerson.
Here.
Mr. Farella.
Here.
Ellen Ladazori. Here. Elizabeth Lounsbury.
Here.
Don Mason.
Here.
Stephen Moritz. Elizabeth Oakes. Elizabeth Oakes.
She may be frozen.
Yeah, she is frozen.
Robert Ronzio. Mr. Stewart. Sarah Tucker.
Here.
Kimberly Weatherall. Rich Peters.
Here. We have a quorum. Okay, well, responses from the audience. Becky, start with it.
Please, if I could just take a quick minute, I wanted to invite you all. Craneville is holding an entrepreneur fair. So on June 6th, our 5th grade students are working with Ty Allen Jackson. They read his book, Make Your Own Money, and they have worked in collaborative groups with creating their own small businesses that they are then presenting and sort of, they're selling their goods in the gym at Craneville on June 6th. So if you're available, we'd love to have you. We're looking to also invite some community partners. So I'm working with Erica Phillips, our assistant principal of teaching and learning, who has done the bulk of the coordinating and communicating with Lionel Jackson and his company on this. They can take almost no credit for it, but I didn't say I would pass out invitations tonight. So please come. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I just say to this, as a parent, I knew that the teaching was going on when my 5th grader went and did work at my parents' house and then asked to deposit it into his savings and then asked me if he could start buying stock. And I said, yeah, we can do that, but what's going on? And he was like, so whatever the book, like, my kid's putting money in a savings account, which interesting.
To give to the Craneville PTO, who financially supports this effort the last couple of years in partnering with Ty Allen Jackson, as well as purchasing all of the books and the supplies for the students to create their projects. So I'm going to do it without that.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping off of what Mike just brought up is bringing in the idea of the curriculums building throughout the years. I don't know if this was intentional, but my 1st grader just came home today with a packet full of like economics 101 type stuff. Like, this is selling, this is buying, these are sellers. And I was like, these are the stuff that I did the worst in college on, but congratulations on starting in 1st grade. And it was very cool to now hear that it's building, the curriculum stacks up from the youngest to the oldest.
Financial literacy.
So important.
People do not have it.
I don't have it yet.
Me neither. I'm working.
And then when I was in school.
We can add you to next year's cohort.
Thank you.
You little professional at all. Okay. Next up is the student affairs. I still be on it or Daniel online? Either? Okay. All right, well, moving on. So financial reports, we have a series of warrants that were previously signed, and we have gifts and donations. The first one is acceptance of a donation from Berkshire to Crane Family Fund to the Kittredge Library.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approves a $2,000 donation from the Berkshire Taconic Crane Family Fund to the Kittredge Library as recommended by the district treasurer.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call.
Dr. Kraft Reese.
Yes.
Charlotte Crane,
Same.
Dr. Eberwein,
Yes.
Todd Emerson,
Yes.
Mr. Farella,
Yes.
Ellen Ladisari,
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury.
Yes.
John Mason.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart, Sarah Tucker.
Yes.
Did I miss someone? Elizabeth Oakes. Really, Rich Peters.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, thought you were there.
yep, okay,
Rich Peters. yeah.
yes, motion carries. Next up is approval of Wacona Regional High School Best Buddies Car Wash fundraiser.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approves a Best Buddies car wash with the date to be determined at Wacona Regional High School to raise money for the Wacona Best Buddies.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion, questions on this one? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I know the day is to be determined, but is that to be determined in the next month or like in the summer after school is let in?
No,
I think it's gonna be summertime.
it's wide open.
Weather's better than.
Anything else? Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese,
Yes.
Charlotte Crane,
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein,
Yes.
Todd Emerson,
Yes.
Mr. Farella,
Yes.
Ellen Ladisari,
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury.
Yes.
John Mason,
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes. No, she's,
Yeah.
yes, Sarah Tucker,
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Yes, motion carries. Next up is acceptance of donations to the General Scholarship Fund.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee accept the following donations of $10,470 to the General Scholarship Fund as recommended by the district treasurer as printed in the agenda.
Second.
Motion is second, any questions on this? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese.
Yes.
Charlotte Crane,
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein,
Yes.
Todd Emerson,
Yes.
Mr. Farella,
Yes.
Ellen Ladisari,
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury,
Yes.
John Mason,
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes, Sarah Tucker,
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Yes, motion carries. Next up, the Secretary's report, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 2nd and April 10th. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on these? Seeing, hearing any, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese,
Yes.
Charlotte Crane,
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein,
Yes.
Todd Emerson,
Yes.
Mr. Farella,
Yes.
Ellen Ladisari,
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury,
Yes.
John Mason,
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes,
Yes.
Sarah Tucker,
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, the next thing I'd like to ask if anybody has any issues with moving the executive sessions to the end of the meeting, so we can stack them up at the same time. We do have to come back into session afterwards, but instead of going in and out multiple times, we'll go
Yeah.
at the end of the meeting. Does anybody have any issues with that?
I thought the next agenda item was approving minutes.
We just did that.
Commission minutes, the executive session minutes.
But do we have to be an executive?
Yeah, we're not, this is not the executive session, it's the approval of the minutes.
We already approved the first one.
Regular.
The second one is the executive session minutes, which we need to go into executive session to review those.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
Gotcha. I'm pretty sure we went through and voted on that, right? So so if you guys have no objections and move that to the end of the meeting, we'll put all the executive sessions together, so we don't go in and out multiple times. So, okay, so next up is the superintendent's report.
Okay, so the first, good evening, everyone. The first item I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that the fourth grade teacher, Melinda Gowdy at Kittredge School, was nominated as Teacher of the Month. And the Teacher of the Month series is in collaboration with Berkshire Community College. It features distinguished teachers. Melinda has been teaching for 21 years. She's taught everything from, she's been a fourth grade teacher. She's been an adjunct professor at Elms College. She teaches technology. She's taught early childhood from 2017 to 2021, where she's taught early childhood education as an adjunct professor. And she basically, you know, I've worked with Melinda for a number of years and this is well deserved and I'm just so proud of her. And I'm so happy to acknowledge and recognize her. I know her students just will say that, you know, there's a quote here in Berkshire's and the article's there, but it's such, you know, they said she's fair, she's consistent, her students know what to expect. She's nurturing, she's warm, she definitely keeps up, she has a great sense of humor. And I'm just, again, just proud of the fact that she's one of our teachers. And she does amazing work. So I did want to acknowledge that. Let's see. Secondly, our Wacona Regional High School senior events. If there's anything you'd like to attend that we've put on the agenda, please let Beth know. Next is our budget update. We have passed the budget in 6 out of our 7-member towns. We do officially have a budget. That means our next session is in Peru, which is June 7th. I've had a couple questions about the regional agreement. We did commit to putting the regional agreement as on the warrants of each of the towns. Some of them said that they were going to include them in a special town meeting coming up. An example of that would be Cummington. They always put it on. They put it on last year at the end of June. The towns that have put it on have passed. We're gonna make sure I get this right. So Beckett passed. Washington passed. They did ask a couple questions about why it was on again. Who else has passed? Do you remember? I'm trying to think. I think that's it. So I anticipate at some point in the future, although I can't give you dates, this will be on a special town meeting. It will be on Peru's agenda. And I think that Hinsdale did not pass. I will tell you, I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. Hinsdale did not pass. We need, just so everyone knows, we need 6 out of our 7 towns to pass. So if we kind of go by last year, we would have to either Peru or Cummington would have to pass for us to feel comfortable that we would be able to have 6 out of our 7-member towns approve the regional agreement.
And both the Finance Committee and Select Board of Peru support it, which is good.
Next on the agenda, I wanted to recognize our school committee student representatives. So Sophie Alsmaan will continue to be a representative for us. Daniel Sargent is graduating and he will be recognized at Senior Class Awards Night. He's not here tonight, but he's done an amazing job for us. He has a pretty bright future ahead of him and we will, I know he's not on tonight, but I did want to thank him. And then next year, so Grace Radzik is a junior. I just found out we have in common that we both live in Middlefield, which is a big deal because not many people live in Middlefield. And she is a sophomore this year. She's going to be a junior next year, and she will be a student representative for us for the next 2 years. So thank you so much, Grace. And she's with us. She's right there. Welcome.
Okay. I'd like to add that Grace was also on the superintendent search committee as a student representative and did a fine job there representing the students. So thank you for your engagement.
The next item on our agenda is approval of the application as presented. It's the Massachusetts Department of Public Health School Health Unit and Massachusetts Controlled Substance Registration Signature Page. And what that is basically is that application really, it shows it's to ensure, or it's for us to say that we are in compliance with Mass General Law around how we administer prescription medications. In general, during the school day, those are administered by our nurses. It is possible for our middle and high school students to self-administer, and that as long as they have an order from the doctor that they can self-administer. This does happen sometimes. You know, you can imagine sports events, after-school events. For some of our younger students, they can actually, we do require for some of our younger ones, nurses to go on many of our field trips. So that's something that we keep a close eye on. One change in the law this year is that, yes, students can self-administer Adults can be trained on field trips and during sporting events to administer as well. But what's changed in the law is they always have to have access to one of our nurses on call. So that's something we are in discussion with our nurses right now. So that's basically in a nutshell what this document says, that we're in compliance, that's how we handle administration.
We need a motion.
We do. Is there?
Yeah.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approves the MCSR application as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, discussions on this? Included in the packet. Not seeing any. Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Dr. Kraft Reese?
Yes.
Charlotte Crane?
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein?
Yes.
Todd Emerson?
Yes.
Mr. Farella?
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori?
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury?
Yes.
John Mason?
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes?
Yes.
Sarah Tucker?
Yes.
Rich Peters?
Yes. Motion carried.
Who is
Steve Maria's.
Steve Morantz? Steve?
Yes, better late than never. Yes.
Thank you, Steve. And the last item that's under the superintendent's report is approval of the recommendation for an assistant superintendent for the FY '26 school year. It technically falls under the superintendent. I have my colleague, your soon-to-be superintendent, ran a very thorough, comprehensive search. I'm going to turn it over to him to actually talk about the search, about the recommendation, and then I will officially make a recommendation.
Great. So we had a search for the assistant superintendent. We put together a search committee. 21 people volunteered to be part of the committee, which was a good cross-section of our community. Ultimately, 13 of those 21 could make the time commitments that we needed to participate in all the interviews. So we had 13 total. We had 9 candidates of varying degrees of experience, and I put it to the search committee to actually choose our applicants that they were moving forward to interview. And the team chose the 4 candidates that we interviewed over the course of 2 nights, I think last week that we did the interviews. The committee then gave input into the selection of the finalists that I'm moving forward for your appointment today. Ultimately, I agreed with the majority of our committee and who chose Aaron Robb to be the candidate that they thought would be my best partner in leading Central Berkshire. And so I just want to talk, there's a couple quotes in here. I asked each committee member to put forward who they felt was the best fit, and it was an anonymous survey, but along with the narrative of explaining why. So I will say that everybody on the committee really put in a lot of effort into that. And I had a lot of reading to do, which actually put off my selection for an extra day. I took the weekend sort of to sort through the feedback. And Aaron came to us with a vision for Central Berkshire that was unmatched by any of the other candidates. And he talks, what stood out to a lot of our committee was his vision for AI as a future thing that we really have to address in our schools, and talked about how to do that, and which the committee liked. And secondly, he had ideas for combating some of the problems that we have, especially like our enrollment at Beckett Washington. And he brought forward just some real concrete ideas about the needs that we have. He complements my leadership in his vast experience in building leadership. And just about everybody on the committee pointed that out, that he has building leadership and institutional knowledge that we need to build relationships throughout our communities. One, and this just stood out to me. I'm just going to read that one person said his expertise in running and operating a school building while creating a strong and collaborative school culture and nurturing the students and families in our community are signs of strong and dedicated leadership. And I think that really sums up Aaron's work here in the district. There's no one that I've met in my 3 years here that is as committed authentically to the success of Central Berkshire and has a true deep commitment to our students and our staff members. And that really, gave him a clear edge over all the other candidates. I've talked to Aaron about this, the one concern, or there were two concerns really that when we were talking about Aaron as a candidate. One was, what are we going to do at Wacona? Right? Which was honestly a stopping point for me for a second. And secondly is, Aaron doesn't have a lot of elementary experience. And and that was brought up in his response. And somebody pointed out that when asked a question about his elementary school experience, he said, I don't know that answer, but I'll learn it. And throughout all of his responses, he showed that he is a lifelong learner and learns along with his staff, and is really willing and excited about moving into something new where he can learn new things in his career. And that was exciting for me to hear. So I'm excited. I also just want to say that the committee, the 13 people that gave their time reviewing the resumes, choosing the applicants, coming up with interview questions and interviewing, it was a really nice community. It was a great group. And one of the candidates who was in the running, when I talked to her after and let her know that we were moving Aaron forward, we had a great conversation about the district, and she actually called back and just said, I want you to know that the community that you've developed at Central Berkshire, that's the best place I've ever interviewed. She said, and that's actually going to move me forward and give me like some momentum moving into my other interviews, how great your committee was. So that nothing to do with me. That's like the community in general. It was for an applicant who didn't get the job to reach out and say that. I thought that was pretty powerful. So thank you to everybody. But Aaron, I'm happy to move your name forward to be appointed, and I know Aaron wants to say a few words.
Yes. I do want to thank the school committee tonight. You haven't voted yet. I will thank you in advance for your support, and I sincerely appreciate it, and we'll absolutely look forward to working with you. I'd like to thank Mike Canal and his search committee for their very thorough and loaded questions during the interview. But it was a great conversation, and I really thank them for their support. I'd like to thank our soon-to-be retired superintendent, Leslie Blake Davis, for all your years of service to Central Berkshire and the great work you did at Beckett Washington as principal, which I saw from afar as a teacher and as a assistant principal, but especially for the last 5 years. Lasting bonds have been forged thanks to COVID and the building project. And we will always have stories to tell. But I sincerely appreciate your mentorship and your partnership during these last 5 years that you've been superintendent. I'd like to thank my family, Lynn, Hayden, Lily, and Colby. My next door neighbor, my mom. And my dad's not with us, but he'd be getting a kick out of this right now. But I thank them for their permission, which I sought, and their support and encouragement. I have a daughter that's going to be a teacher 1 year from now, and there's nothing I'm more proud of than that. I'd like to thank the students and staff of Wacona. And I'll find the time to properly thank them the right way. no, don't be offended, but this is not the right way. But I want them to know that being principal of Wacona is the best thing that's ever happened to me professionally. I'll never forget it. I will always consider Wacona my home, and it'll be the thing that I call most fondly about my career. What I do want you to know is I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to give this my all. I'm excited to expose some of the wonderful things that are already going on in Central Berkshire and celebrate them with you and celebrate our incredible staff, our incredible students and our families. So thank you very much. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
And so really last on under superintendent's report, I am pleased to formally what? Oh. Recommend, make a recommendation. I think I have to make the recommendation first.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Just recommend Aaron Robb for assistant superintendent.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee appoint Aaron Robb to the position of Assistant Superintendent of Schools effective July 1st, 2025, as recommended by Superintendent Leslie Blake Davis.
Any motion is second. Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say I fully support Aaron, always have, and you're amazing administrator and principal. And if you ran for president, I'd vote for you. This is really silly procedurally. We haven't approved a superintendent's contract yet, right?
That's later in today's.
Okay. So the assumption is we will.
I say,
But
If you don't, you have an assistant.
we're hiring or approving it to a position right now that's not absolutely open yet until later in the meeting. I don't want to split hairs here. I'm just raising the question.
yeah. I think there's a start date, July 1st.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the start at July 1st. I think that's good. Maybe that wasn't in the motion.
Yeah, it was.
In the appointment, it's really pending contractual negotiations with Aaron. I mean, the appointment today would allow us to enter contract negotiations with Aaron. Which technically he wouldn't. I mean, you're right, though.
Yeah. It's weird.
I'd just like to add that having been on the committee to find an assistant superintendent, we had some really qualified people, but Aaron just ran away with it because he is Central Berkshire. I mean, there's nobody else that defines our community like Aaron Robb. But I wanted to thank everybody who was on the committee because it was fun. And usually they're not fun. But we all got along and we did a good job, thanks to your leadership.
It's nice. Yeah. Oh,
To speak to Jake's concerns a little, I understand, yeah, sort of putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but at the same time, our next school committee meeting isn't until June 12th. And if everything goes properly, that only gives a couple weeks to find a principal for Wacona at the start of July 1st. So.
I understand completely. I'm just pointing out usually the timing in this.
No.
So, I mean, we could amend it to say pending successful approval of the superintendent's contract. I'll make that motion if you like.
okay.
We amend the motion to read
That's correct.
pending approval of the superintendent's contract.
Okay. Do we get a second on
I
that?
second that.
A second. Okay. We have to vote to approve the amendment.
Yeah.
So can I get a roll call vote on approving the amendment?
Dr. Kraft Reese.
Yes.
Charlotte Crane.
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein.
Yes.
Todd Emerson.
Yes.
Mr. Farella.
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori.
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury.
Yes.
John Mason.
Yes.
Stephen Morantz.
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes.
Yes.
Sarah Tucker.
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Yes. Motion carries. So now let's vote to appoint him as amended. Okay. Any other discussion about that? As moved forward as amended? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese.
Yes.
Charlotte Crane.
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein.
Yes.
Todd Emerson.
Yes.
Mr. Farella.
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori.
As a parent, I'm hesitant, as a student, I'm gonna miss him as principal, but as a school committee member, absolutely, yeah.
Elizabeth Lounsbury.
Yes.
John Mason.
Yes.
Stephen Morantz.
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes.
Yes.
Sarah Tucker.
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Motion carries. Ending the contract negotiations. Congratulations. Okay. Is that it for the superintendent's report?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on. For the chair, we have one more, as Leslie mentioned earlier, we do have a budget. We had enough towns pass it. Hinsdale did not, Hinsdale did pass it. So the only town left is Peru. The amended, the original agreement, like I said, Hinsdale did not pass it, and Peru is next up on June 7th. If they pass it, we have a chance of getting it done as the rest of the towns. If they vote it down in Peru, then pretty much, again, for this year, it's not gonna pass. In the packet is the school committee dates for next year. We do have to approve a change to that. Mainly that came from out of the work that's being done in the para negotiations. There was a change to the school calendar from what it was presented at when we approved it through curriculum earlier in the year. We made a slight change to that. I don't know if you guys want to explain the change.
Sure. So that it was, so over the last few years, we've had requests to change the way we handle professional development, and it was primarily asking if we could have more extended time, so we could have, maybe more full days of professional development and potentially have a couple of professional development days together. And so the reason we couldn't is because the very last day for teachers is something called checkout day. And that's not a day for students. It's when teachers come into buildings, they kind of get their classrooms ready for summer cleaning, and they go through some logistics, and then they leave and sign out. So this has been brought up, so not, like Rich said during negotiations, but also brought up to us from families that, I did not do an official survey, but families have said to us, these half days are hard. And it's also difficult for us to get an outside consultant in for half day, because often if you're traveling to Western Mass, you really need a full day of professional development. So everybody's kind of looking over their shoulder at Lennox. And I don't think we're the only district in saying, wow, they had the Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving as professional development days, and there was no school for everyone on that Wednesday. When we were in discussions with our teacher, with the CBA, with our teachers, family members, and our administrative teams, they all said, is there a way that we could make this happen? And I said, well, we could, but we'd have to do an MOU because we haven't finalized negotiations. And this is one of those items where you really have everybody coming together in agreement. Families agreeing, we had teachers agreeing, we had our administrators agreeing. Becky Sawyer, principals, like, how can we make this happen?
And one other thing that it also partially addresses a problem that our administrators have been talking about, which is chronic absenteeism, because
Right.
on our half days, we
Right.
have like kids don't come to school, and there's a higher rate of teacher call out on half days as well. And so our administrators have been asking us for a couple of years, like, how can we get rid of half days? And it didn't completely do that, but it's a start towards that, which those days really affect our attendance numbers.
So our union agreed with the backing of teachers to get rid of checkout day. And we could essentially make that an extra professional development day. What it does do is the last day of school is a 0.5 day, is a half day. And then they would use that other half day, the other half of the day to really clean out their classrooms and get ready to leave. So it felt like a win-win for everybody, quite honestly. There wasn't a lot of discussion around it. My only request was that it not come any later than May 22nd, because I know families are planning for vacations. I probably already might hear a few things about it, but I still think it's the benefits outweigh any negatives. So this is an amended calendar for next year. The primary difference is there's no checkout day for teachers. The Monday and Tuesday before Thanksgiving break are professional development days. So we would need school committee approval to make this change.
Motion?
Motion's under personnel.
I didn't see it, yeah.
It's under me.
Oh, it's on the next page.
It's on the next page.
All right. Be it resolved that Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approve the fiscal year 2026 school committee. Oh, not the school committee.
So it's under personnel for the school calendar. It came under negotiation.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approve the amended 2025-26 school year calendar.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on it?
I couldn't hear completely. Did this go through curriculum for approval?
This did not go through curriculum. The original one went through curriculum. And then this came up pretty quickly, I would say fairly quickly, when, as Rich mentioned, we were having conversations with our teachers in negotiations, and it just, and then at the same time, sort of, I would say right before that, we'd had a couple conversations with our administrative teams as well.
We had discussed this in curriculum that
Right.
we would like to see it happen, but we couldn't because of contractual, it would need to be a contractual change. So we couldn't just go ahead and approve for the school year a change to professional development days and half days without talking to the teachers first.
Yeah, all right, beyond the teachers, I guess the question is, how about the parents? I mean, talking about a week off of school for kids, right? And then 2 weeks off of Christmas. Basically, 1 day and then a half day, and then, I don't know, it seems like very disruptive, but I understand that Lennox and Richmond are doing this year. It's just, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you.
I mean, what I will say is a lot of our families are finding these half days really difficult. What they've come to us and asked if, this doesn't completely eliminate half days, but it does reduce the number of half days. And, you know, both paraprofessionals and teachers are saying, if you could have 2 professional development days attached, it's going to give a lot more options, a lot more choices for professional development. So this was one of those rare, not rare, but one of those occasions where really all of our factions kind of came together, and it seemed to have a lot of support.
Yeah.
This didn't change the winter break. Winter break was
I
already
understand that.
like that.
I'm just talking about disruption. November, you got Veterans Day off, you got parent-teacher conferences, which are confused days, right? Then you take a week off of Thanksgiving, you have 2 weeks off of Christmas. I mean, it's just, wow. It's, I mean, I'm curious how the parents, I don't have a parent, and I don't have kids in school, so I'd just be curious how parents are going to react to this.
I think the other motivator, just to sort of reiterate what Mike had said, is our chronic absenteeism, when we looked at it, was predominantly on those half days. It was, and we're, you know, so we hear you, I mean, weighing that out with keeping our kids in school, that was also a pretty big factor.
And the other piece of that was the week of Thanksgiving break, when we looked at attendance data,
Wednesday.
the parents were keeping their students home during that. Not everybody, but it was a higher rate. And I have the rate, it was pretty high. So I think that more parents are keeping their students home during that week than they typically do. And it was, give you that number.
Yeah. Completely old school. I don't know.
I'll just say,
Wednesday.
I'll just say, as a parent with 2 kids in the district, half days suck. So
Yeah, and remember, I mean, my kids are now old enough to be able to get off the bus and handle themselves. for a half day, but when in elementary school, it's a total disaster when you have to try to figure out who's going to be there to get the kids off the bus. And also, they're difficult for high school parents too, because when you have a sporting event that's away and there's a half day and then the bus, they have to be back at school for like 2 o'clock for the bus and your child doesn't have a license yet, somebody still has to come and get them back from house to school.
Anybody else? Okay,
I'm going to oppose this only because I think it needs additional study, but I don't conceptually understand the arguments, but I will oppose it. Mostly because I believe it needs more study.
Well, I think the language, this is just an MOU because we already have it and the contract is still valid. So that's why it's an MOU to change this year. But there will be other language in they're developing the language for the contract. It's not done yet in that respect. So,
Okay, thank you.
I could, if it does pass, I can commit to surveying families around
Thank you.
the impact for next year, trying it for a year. And then before we build the next year's calendar, we'll have some data. I can pull the attendance data, the professional development feedback and parent input.
Thanks, Mike.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
Al?
the one that approves that's the committee that approves the calendar. I can't tell you the number of times I've forgotten that there's a half day coming. And then it's like, oh, and getting feedback from other parents that I know, like, is there really a half day coming? I didn't plan for this. I forgot about it. It's just full day of school just makes it a lot easier for everybody.
anybody else? All right, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese?
Yes.
Charlotte Crane?
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein?
No.
Todd Emerson?
Yes.
Mr. Farella?
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori?
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury?
Yes.
John Mason?
Yes.
Stephen Morantz?
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes?
Yes.
Sarah Tucker?
Yes.
Rich Peters?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next item on the list is powers for litigation. This is another executive session that the committee's okay to move it to the end. Any objection?
Sorry, I'm just saying that we also skipped the motion for approving the school committee meeting calendar.
That's what I was looking at.
Everyone confused.
Thank you. But is anybody, we'll jump around a little bit. Does anybody have any issues with moving that executive session to the end with the other ones? All right, sorry. Now the calendar. It's a little confused.
Be it resolved that Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approves the fiscal year 2026 school committee meeting calendar with the following adjustments. The July meeting will be held on the 5th Thursday of the month instead of the 4th Thursday. The September, October, and May meetings will be held on the 3rd Thursday of the month instead of the 4th Thursday. And the June meeting will be held on the 2nd Thursday of the month instead of the 4th Thursday.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion on this one? Yeah,
Just to confirm, those do match up with the dates that are here? Okay.
anybody else? Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Kraft Reese?
Yes.
Charlotte Crane?
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein?
Yes.
Todd Emerson?
Yes.
Mr. Farella?
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori?
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury?
Yes.
John Mason?
Yes.
Stephen Morantz?
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes?
Yes.
Sarah Tucker?
Yes.
Rich Peters?
Yes, motion carries. And sorry for that confusion. I was the one confused. But we got rid of something out of personnel at a time here, so we're in good shape. Okay, so moving on, that's it for me right now. Move to Corinne. Oh,
Just a quick question.
yeah, sorry. Crane.
Sort of blew by the regional agreement. But first of all, I wanted to clarify, the amended regional agreement is the regional agreement that as written and was proposed last year, correct? And so what towns have already approved it?
Washington and Beckett. Weren't in time to get on Windsor and Dalton. Cummington moves it to a special town meeting like they did before.
That's at the end of June.
Hinsdale didn't pass it. Washington passed it, and Peru is coming up.
Cummington didn't pass it yet.
No, not yet. They're gonna do it in a special town meeting.
And then does Windsor and Dalton have to pass it again?
If Peru passes it,
Yeah,
we will put it on their next special town meeting.
okay,
You get it?
thank you.
Sorry. Missed that?
It's okay.
Okay, next up is curriculum.
Good evening, everybody. Curriculum has met twice since our last school committee meeting, once on April 15th, and then this past Tuesday. Items up for discussion were, we got updates on the Wacona ELA pilot. There were 4 curriculums that were looked into. They've ultimately decided to further go with our further pilot into the literature, which is by McGraw-Hill. Until literature wasn't good. They're going with Study Sync by McGraw-Hill. Because of time crunches and some other issues that popped up, the representative for that curriculum has given us the pilot for free through February of next school year. We have chosen to go with using consumables instead of hard text. So we have all the lessons fully for all the units. The teachers have committed to pilot at least 1 unit next semester for 9th and 10th grade, hopefully 2. We will get info to Assistant Superintendent Hinault by November, and if liked, we will we'll continue to pilot into the 2nd semester, but we will have the full curricula for the whole year. They've thrown in professional development for free for the summer and PD in September for the launch. And then for the school year after that, Mike is looking into applying for a grant that could potentially cover implementation of the full curriculum. And so when we talked on the 15th about Study Sync, the good thing about that is that it's a themes-based curriculum that meets standards. So all the themes meet the standards. There's a variety of novels that each ELA teacher can decide to put into their classes based on interest of a class or interest of the teacher. But it also allows for them to give like the honors classes a little bit more of a difficult text to use than a CP class. So while everybody will have the same standards, there will be the honors class kids will have a little bit of more of a challenging book to read. And then for the science pilot at Nessicus, we're going with Open Syed. They had professional development on the 16th. We're partnered with a rep to help us move to a phenomenon-based practice and pace the curriculum for this particular curriculum. We should know we'll take first semester to pilot it in each of the grades in the middle school, and we'll know by the end of first semester if it's liked or not. We have 2 new science teachers starting at Nessicus, or 2 science teachers will start the year with Open Syed, unit in September, and then 2 will join in October. The PD sessions are actually $300 per session. So for PD, that's pretty economical. The next professional development that we have the teachers will decide which units they're going to pilot in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then we are arranging to work with North Adams to take the teachers up for a field trip so they can see Open Syed in action in the classroom. Any questions on the ELA and science pilots? Okay. Next, we talked about the elementary school code of conduct, and you all got a copy of that today from Beth. This is modeled after the secondary school code of conduct, codes of conduct. It's aimed at parents and should be a guide for them and the administration to design consequences for actions if students weren't meeting expectations. They're just trying to focus more on restorative practice instead of punitive actions. Helps to make discipline across the district more standardized. And it's going to help reduce the rate of suspension it has helped reduce the rate of suspension in the secondary schools. It also lets parents know their rights when it comes to what's going on with their students and any consequences that have been doled out. It also applies to at the bus, walking to school, at school events, and on social media if that becomes an issue disruptive to the school day, or at school-sponsored events. We're adding an embedded link for the elementary school code of conduct to the bullying report form, like we have for the secondary schools. Differences in behavior management here in the elementary schools than the secondary. So language for kindergarten through third grade will be that teachers' discretion to modify punishments because kids are still learning at this age group. And we understand that the younger kids will still hit, kick, et cetera, when they're trying to get their point across or if their emotions get a little out of hand. So if a punishment seems a little too punitive, a teacher can change it a little bit. And we are highly discouraged to suspend at that age group. The code will apply fully to 4th and 5th grade. Suspensions may apply at this age group in severe cases. They are adding definitions of therapeutic space and where they are in the schools. So the adjustment officer's room, admin space, and at Craneville, the RBT room. Infractions are organized as they are in the secondary school code of conducts by level, so levels 1 through 4. And then so there is a level of action is then met with what the proper consequence should be for that level of infraction. The other 2 elementary schools have, like the Craneville peer mentoring program that the 5th graders have done, so they might look to be implementing that themselves. And any feedback that will be given from the code of conduct that was shared will be taken into consideration if received by July. And then back in April, we also went over with Principal Aaron Robb the Principal Robb gave a presentation on the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, also known as NEASC. I'm going to keep asking about that. NEASC is an organization that has been in existence since the early 20th century. It was created as an oversight body for New England schools and colleges. There are now other accrediting bodies for New England schools and colleges, but Central Berkshire still chooses to be part of the accreditation process every 10 years. The initial survey process had 2 parts, a self-study and a site visit. Central Berkshire assesses itself against 5 standards: learning culture, student learning, professional practices, learning supports, and learning resources. Then NEASC tests Wacona against its standards. NEASC then issues their report and recommendation. Central Berkshire will have 2 years to implement the recommendations, and NEASC will then come back for a final, 2 years, and we'll come back for a final site visit. Site visit teams are made up of teachers and administrators from other New England schools. Central Berkshire site visits occurred April 7th and April 8th. April 7th was the school tour, and then staff and students were interviewed, and a debrief occurred on the 8th. The survey team said they loved the new building. They also loved the climate and the culture at Wacona. They found every student that they spoke with could name an adult that they could go to in a trusted manner if they needed to talk, if they needed someone to talk to. Recommendations made at a debrief were to have written curriculum for ELA, which we are working on, and to find a way to connect our portrait of a graduate work to every aspect at Wacona. The latter is something that we also assessed for ourselves during the self-study process. These recommendations will become the drivers for the building improvement plan. Final results for this initial process will be given to Central Berkshire this month. Those results are not allowed to be shared. Central Berkshire gets a week to dispute any findings, and then the final results of the initial will be published in June. Did I get that all right?
100%.
And it didn't make it onto the, what we were supposed to talk about. We did go over a little bit about graduation, competency requirements, still on target, for that, no changes, to report. We'll have more on that, maybe after the June meeting or, as a quick update. Our next meeting is Monday, June 9th, where the only topic, well, besides maybe getting a quick update on the graduation competency requirements, we are going to be reviewing a request for night field trip by the Wacona cheerleaders.
Any questions? Thank you, Alan. Job.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is finance.
Hi, everyone. Finance has not met since our last meeting. We've been having some scheduling issues, though I do believe June 3rd, we have a tentative potential remote meeting with Tom Scanlon
Yes.
to go over
FY24.
Okay. And policy.
So we last met on April 16th. We were supposed to also meet yesterday, but we too have had many a scheduling conflict. So we had a somewhat shorter meeting on the 16th. We reviewed section F, which is facilities development. It's a very short section of policy. Section G is not ready for us to review at that time. So we will begin that at our next meeting, which is tentatively June 4th. In addition to that, we did also review Beckett's preference for vocational schools. They had put forth that they prefer to designate both Smith Vocational and Taconic High School as preferred vocational schools, one of which they already had set forth. So I'll read that motion now. Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee approve the addition of Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School as a preferred vocational school for the town of Beckett, as recommended by the Policy Subcommittee. And
Motion and second. Any questions, concerns? See none? Roll call, please.
Dr. Crafts?
Yes.
Charlotte Crane?
yes.
Dr. Eberwein?
Yes.
Todd Emerson?
Yes.
Mr. Farella?
Yes.
Ellen Latazori?
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury?
Yes.
John Mason?
Yes.
Stephen Morantz?
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes?
Yes.
Sarah Tucker?
Yes.
Rich Peters?
Yes, motion carries. All right,
That's it.
well done. Okay, on personnel, again, we already did the calendar. Approval of the superintendent contract, that's going to take an executive session, and we'll move that to the end. You've already agreed for that. We aren't going to need a executive session for negotiations. I'll just give you a quick update on what's going on. We've been using the interest-based bargaining piece with both the paras and the teachers. And it's basically, so far, it's been a problem-solving, collective problem-solving with the two groups, and it's been going really smoothly and quick. At this point right now, this past week, the paras, it was turned over to the lawyers for developing the language that the two groups agreed to. And then once that comes through, we have one more piece to negotiate on the paras. And the teachers is getting very close to that same exact point. I have a couple more meetings to do, and it's going really well, really fast, and a very collaborative effort. It's going to be pretty successful. Been a great experience for me. I just hear nothing but nightmares on typical negotiations, and it just hasn't been that way. And it's been a really good experience, and I think it's going to end up with some good results really quick. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about what's going on there, but Okay, so, so that's it. We'll move the executive session to the end after we go through the other committee reports. So next up would be safety and wellness.
Safety and Wellness met on April 28th. We received a report from Leslie that general illnesses were lower across the district, which is pretty normal for this time of year. She also reported that there will be a county-wide meeting with Berkshire Health Alliance regarding measles and measles vaccinations in Berkshire County. And we'll have an update at the next meeting about that. The two or three bigger things that we discussed, though, were the summer meals program. We had a conversation with John Tranfaglia from Food Services. He outlined what the district will be doing for the summer food program, including tentatively expecting to have delivery or distribution sites at Craneville and Beckett, Washington, and pickup would operate similar to the COVID shutdown meal pickups with multiple meals distributed per student to be picked up at one time. And those distributions may occur on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but there's still some wiggle room right now while they're waiting for approval from DESE, specifically around if the district will be designated as a rural district, but he said that that's likely to happen. For the summer meals program, it has a slightly higher reimbursement rate for summer meals opposed to in-school meal reimbursement from the state. This is also where the staff payments for this program will come from. They don't come out of the district's operating budget, so this is a self-sustaining program. Meals are available both for in-district and out-of-district children. Anyone under the age of 18 or 18 and under can receive this service, and food services will be reimbursed for those meals that are distributed. A survey has been sent out at this point, though at the time of the meeting, it hadn't been sent out yet, to district families to assess interest in the program. Depending on the level of interest and location, some staffing and distribution locations may change in the near future, but we should be getting a report on this by early June to see where it's at. We also had a conversation with Dr. Don Vosberg from the middle school. For those who may not know, he's the Neskis principal. He presented on the middle school's new internet safety initiatives to preventively address cyberbullying, social media, and other internet safety lessons. And this builds on the school's previous work with Officer Miller from the Dalton Police Department, but is more hands-on than just a traditional assembly format. On the 18th, the district held an internet safety parent information night. And he shared the link of the topics that were going to be discussed in the coming week with the middle schoolers in his weekly newsletter to alert parents of the upcoming in-school lesson. So with this new format, it provides a collaborative, or in collaboration with the Kids Place and District Attorney's Office. It provided 2 days of classroom instruction during their social studies classes. So each grade received 2 social studies classes worth of instruction. Dr. Vosberg emphasized that this program allows students to begin having open conversations about internet usage and threats that can exist online. All 3 grades in the middle school received these lessons. And then in the coming years, they're looking to have the new 6th graders receive the same program, as well as possibly having a 1-day refresher instead of a 2-day full-on program for the upper grades. 3 members from our subcommittee recommended that we do a similar program in the elementary school because it's more helpful to be proactive and proactively engaging younger students who are likely already encountering a lot of these internet safety issues, but the impacts may not be realized or seen until middle school or even high school. He also sent us the link, and I can pass that along. It was with missingkids.org, so I'll send that along for everyone in the future. And then the final thing that we got was the 3rd quarter bullying data update from Leslie. And with I know it's been about a year now, but with the submissions for bullying allegations coming through Droplet, it's become a lot easier for people to submit and have more involvement. So as I think we've discussed it before, but because it's easier to do, there have been more allegations, but that's not unexpected at this point. Currently, for the third quarter, there have been 17 allegations of bullying across the district from September to April. And those are mostly in the middle school and high school. 5 of these allegations have been found to be bullying based on the definition provided by DESE, and 5 additional allegations are in progress of investigation. Additionally, she reminded the subcommittee that if an allegation is not found to be bullying, it may still be reported in other categories such as harassment. She also clarified that anything that is reported that not through droplet and not reported as bullying still counts, still is an infraction, but it's not part of this report here. So this was just bullying allegations and how that broke down. Our next meeting was tentatively supposed to be June 9th, but hearing that there's something else going on June 9th, we may have to reconsider that.
Yeah, well, hoping to have I didn't want to shove it into that part of the school year, but we have to approve
We don't have a rush. You're fine. We'll look into it.
I was gonna do it on the 10th, and then was another committee was like, oh, we just took that date.
We'll fight you for it. Possible topics may include anxiety and mental health review with Lisa Herlin, the head school adjustment counselor. And then we are looking for updates on vaping and drug protocols in the schools, the cell phone policy results, so how that's been playing out over the course of last year, the summer meals program, how it's going to happen once we get the final data on that, and then a report from Kelly Jean about the measles meeting. That's it.
Okay, any questions for Liz? Thanks, nice report. Good job. Okay, next up is the Wacona Building Project. I will say that we did send a letter to Bar and Bar, essentially a bill for the mold issue, and they had a meeting last week with their insurance company. I corresponded with them today. They have not resolved what they're going to do yet, so I haven't got an answer on that yet, but hopefully we'll get some compensation there. And next up is the regional agreement ad hoc Dave's not here, but we did talk about where it stands basically in the votes. So next up is superintendent ad hoc.
Okay, well, thank you. We met on May 20th, right before curriculum. It was a marathon night. And we discussed the superintendent's evaluation now that it needs to get done. So we have, Beth has something to show you, but what we did was we went over standard 1, and on standard 1, let me see if I can see. Okay, it was about, no, the other one, please.
The other big.
Yeah. We need this to help us write the evaluation, but I wanted to show you the actual evaluation. Here it is. Okay, so standard 1 is instructional leadership, and Paul, you'll remember that. That's your stuff there. But if you look, there's 4 standards, and we revised this, and you all voted on it once before and approved it. So it's instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. What we want to show you here is the examples of evidence, but also I'll start with the first one. I'm sorry, the standard rating of unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, or exemplary. So the explanation of those can be found in that active link that's highlighted there under here.
You click it.
Yes, please click it and we'll take you to.
Control click.
Okay.
It worked over here. Is this right?
No. Well, there is a form that shows exactly what proficient means, what exemplary means, what, and has samples of that. If we can't find it now, that's okay. I'll send it out.
This is what it opens up to.
Okay. Well, maybe scroll down and see if there's anything else.
Right.
Hey, there it is. Okay. So, you can read all of that. We're gonna send this out to you if you choose to do the evaluation. You don't have to. For those people who are brand new, we think it's probably gonna be really hard to do the evaluation. And we discussed that because of our past experience with that. The first year we had to do it, we were totally lost. But if you want to do it, absolutely fine. I just ask that you contact Beth, and Beth will send you all the information out. I would do it, but my computer and I are not friends anymore, so. Beth will help me out there. So that explains kind of what you would look for in the evaluation rating. If you can go back to the other one. Okay, so yeah, so under this, for example, and I'm sorry, but I put an X on there just to play around, but so if you go to curriculum and there's a definition for ensures that all instructional staff design effective and rigorous standards-based units of instruction consisting blah, blah, blah. So what we need to do is find the evidence for that. And Leslie has provided us the evidence with the other sheet that we can send you that will link to this. But if you go, the next one is instruction. Keep on going down, please, Beth. Then assessment. And then evaluation. And this is what I just wrote off the top of my head based on some of the things that I was looking at. This by no means is what you need to write. This is just what I took away from all of the evidence that Leslie provided. So we talked about SMART goals, benchmark data supports that. A new text for ELA was adopted, written wisdom and EL, portrait of graduate work. I listed all the things that I could find that were associated with the topic of curriculum. So you'll get that too, because it's obviously it's on this piece of paper. But the next one, if you keep on going down, number 2 is about environment, human resources, scheduling. So law and law. So we decided that that has a lot to do with policy, and it has a lot to do with finance, and it has a lot to do with building management stuff. So those are also in Leslie's evidence. So if you're interested, as I say, please let Beth know. And if you complete it, please send it back to Beth. And you have to send it back to her by June 6th. It's a Friday. It's 2 weeks away. And then our committee will meet on the 10th, not the 9th, the 10th. And we will compile it all and present it to you at the 12th meeting in June. So there is a timetable. If you get stuck with any of the evidence, please let me know. I can help you with it. And we did decide, as I said, to open it up to everybody. So I think that's it.
Any questions? Yeah.
Not a question, just wanted to point out that it does feel a little bit constrained time schedule, timeline wise, but part of that is because Leslie is going to be departing from us by the end of June. So we need to at least give that to her before she leaves.
As a present, right?
Yeah.
Then a maybe. Okay, any other questions?
Again, if you need help, just call.
Okay, so we're gonna go into, move into executive session now, and we will have to come back in after we, vote on the superintendent. But we're gonna go into executive session for 3 items. One is the litigation for Power School. The other is approval of cost minutes, and then the superintendent contract. So we have a combined motion to go into executive session.
Be it resolved that the Central Berkshire Regional School Committee goes into executive session at 8:14 PM in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21. A237, to be compliant with or act under the authority of any general or special law for approval of executive session minutes for the session held on January 11th, 2024, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation of an open meeting may have been detrimental. Open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and to conduct strategy sessions, preparation for negotiations, a non-union personnel superintendent, and or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel superintendent, and to reconvene an open session at the conclusion of the session.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Dr. Jeffries,
Yes.
Charlotte Crane,
Yes.
Dr. Eberwein,
Yes.
Todd Emerson,
Yes.
Mr. Farella,
Yes.
Ellen Ladazori,
Yes.
Elizabeth Lounsbury,
Yes.
John Mason,
Yes.
Stephen Morantz,
Yes.
Elizabeth Oakes,
Yes.
Sarah Tucker,
Yes.
Rich Peters.
Yes. Okay, we are in an executive session, which means that